In 1913, a small town in Georgia was rocked by a brutal murder that would spark one of the most controversial trials in American history. The victim, 13-year-old Mary Phagan. The accused, Leo Frank, a factory manager who would be convicted despite mounting questions about his guilt. On April 26, 1913, Mary Phagan, a young girl from a poor family, visited the National Pencil Company factory in Atlanta, Georgia to collect her paycheck. Hours later, her lifeless body was discovered in the basement of the factory. Mary had been brutally assaulted and strangled, her body dumped in the factory's dark basement. The discovery sent shockwaves through the town. The question on everyone's mind: who could commit such a heinous crime? Suspicion quickly turned to Leo Frank, the factory's Jewish superintendent. Frank was a well-educated northern man in a predominantly southern town, making him an outsider in the eyes of many. The police, desperate to solve the case, focused their attention on Frank after his initial statements appeared inconsistent. Frank was arrested and charged with the murder based on circumstantial evidence. But what followed would leave the town and the entire nation divided. The trial of Leo Frank began in the summer of 1913 with the entire nation watching. The prosecution relied on the testimony of Jim Conley, an African-American janitor who claimed he witnessed Frank disposing of the body. But Conley had a criminal record, and his testimony was questionable. Despite the lack of physical evidence linking Frank to the crime, the jury convicted him. The verdict sparked outrage among many who believed Frank was innocent, and calls for a retrial grew louder. But the wheels of justice had already turned. In 1915, after Frank's appeals were denied, a group of vigilantes kidnapped him from prison and lynched him in Marietta, Georgia. The case left an indelible mark on the nation, with widespread racial and anti-Semitic tensions boiling to the surface. Nearly a century later, Leo Frank's conviction was posthumously overturned. But the question remains, was justice ever truly served? The murder of Mary Phagan remains a tragic chapter in America's history, a case where prejudice and injustice left deep scars that are still felt today. The murder of Mary Phagan, a case of innocence lost, a legacy of injustice.